Hello, everyone. Uh, Good evening, or good afternoon, or good morning. Shalom. So, my brother-in-law and sister uh, wasn't a surprise visit, but we weren't expecting them. They came and visited us. They're one of the couples that probably, to be honest, they're probably the main couple we've talked to as far as marital issues or just if we're trying to figure some things out. They're one of the couples we respect. I know sometimes they say don't go to family, and there's probably wisdom behind that. But go to we've been to them numerous times. I figure there's no one that knows us better than our family. My sister, my brother-in-law, they know some of my issues. They know our issues. They know some of my how do you say that? They know what I struggle with or how I talk or if I come across a certain way. So I figured in today's day, one of the things that's so hard that people are struggling with is marriage. So we are here to have a short talk on how to have a good marriage. So I know they wouldn't want anyone to know. We did no prepping for this. We're just going on here raw. That's how we like it. Nothing new. Yeah, nothing new. Marriage is raw. So we definitely don't have it all together. Um, I mean, just even yesterday, they were talking to us, and that's how I came up with this idea about different questions or different things we can do to help our marriage, strengthen our marriage. And I was like, oh, I want to have you guys on. And if one couple, one person could be encouraged in their marriage in today's day, I put on this shirt not purposefully, but I don't have many shirts. So I put on a shirt and I was like, yeah, do the opposite, right? In a day where people will give up on marriage, on a day they'll marry person to person, do the opposite. Stay together. Believe in each other. So, anyways, I hope you guys get encouraged by this. So, we're going to try to have a joyful conversation about something that could be very serious. So, Sam, Karina, what would you say? How do you have a good marriage?
Hmm. Well, first, I just want to say thank you for Daniel and Des inviting us on here. This is very organic and there was no rehearsing. So, uh, I would say, first and foremost, of course, I believe it's always putting God first and keeping Him at the center of everything. Um, but I would also say, just my one of my biggest things is just really coming into the marriage with an understanding heart and really just not always making it about me, but really looking at the best interest for my wife. And I feel like she does the same thing towards me back in return. Um, do you have anything to add?
I know you were saying something yesterday that
Yeah.
I don't think I've heard it in that exact way. You were saying something like your spouse, no one is gonna love you and look out for you like your spouse. Do you remember how you
Yeah.
worded that?
Yeah. So, and I would say, I mean, I know that for me and my wife, like she is my only resource in life, besides God, being, everything to me. But just here on earth, the only physical human being that I know can meet any need that I have. And I mean, she is my only resource for everything. I have no other option, whether it comes to, I mean, if I can be honest, whether it comes to sex, whether it comes to, just someone to lean on in any kind of like circumstance, whether it comes to raising kids or whatever. I mean, she is my only resource. I have no other option. So just by knowing that I have no other option, I'm going to never give up on our marriage. I'm going to fight no matter what we face. I'm going to just always pursue her with everything that I have. I mean, she is my only resource for everything. And just knowing that a lot makes me, I guess, strive more harder to be vulnerable with her and to really put my trust in her as far as what it means to like, this is kind of hard.
It's okay. You guys, you're
what
doing
it means
good.
just to, I guess what it means to be in a healthy relationship.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I mean, she is my only source in this life when it comes to love, sex. I mean, whatever it may be. Like, I'm not looking anywhere else for that. No matter what we go through, no matter what we face, I'm always gonna, acknowledge that and do my best to try to cultivate that within our relationship.
that's good.
Mhm.
Yeah, so he's not saying that we don't get love from our children and our parents, but
Mm-hmm.
what he was saying, I don't think I've ever heard that way where he said they are my main resource. Like if so for me, I'm like, man, if I keep that in mind that this is my main resource of how I'm gonna feel love, or the main resource of even who I'm giving my love to,
Or even
that
friendship. I mean, because we could have lots of different friends,
Mhm,
but
Mm-hmm.
ultimately, like, our spouse should be our best friend.
mhm.
As
Mm-hmm.
cliche as that is, like, you're not going to want like a closer bond outside of this.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. So, and again, for me, for the resource thing, because that words stand out to me, and I was like, okay, resource is a word that I'm gonna kind of meditate on, because if I'm looking at Des, or if you're looking at your spouse as this is my resource, I'm going to take care of that resource. I'm going to, I'm not going to take that for granted. I'm not going to give up on my resource because that's it, right? If this is the water that I'm drinking from, and please don't quote me or take it super biblical as far as like I know who our water is and all that is supposed to be from, but like if this is using an analogy, if this is who I'm getting on earthly, who is that the Father put there for me to be able to love and receive love, how much more am I not going to take care of that and cherish that and forgive, right? Starting fresh each day. Like this is my resource that I'm going to be able to grow from. This is my resource that I'm going to be able to share and experience things with. And I thought how key that was for me. It was like, huh, that's interesting. Interesting or not interesting, but that is good. Like we need people need to hear this. People need to know that your spouse is it, right? That's it. That's it. That's it. I'm not going anywhere else. And I think if we kept that in mind, we're going to appreciate what we have. And when I look at Sam and Karina, I do see like we lived with them for a year and a half recently, and then we lived with them for almost a year previously. So this isn't a couple that like I don't know some of their baggage or their issues, but I've seen them grow together throughout the years, and that's why I respect them, not because of necessarily what they know, but what they do know and what they do put
Into
to act,
practice.
yeah, into practice.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, that was big.
Mm-hmm.
So go ahead.
No, I would just say too. I mean, like everyone's going to go through trials. They're going to go through ups and downs. But it's in those moments where I believe like God is really um, doing His best work in our lives. And I think that if we continue to you know turn our hearts to Him in those moments, like He's going to reveal to us what it is that we need. He's going to give us tools that we need to overcome any obstacle that we face. And I would say, I mean, we've been through some stuff in our life, and I just know, like, in those moments, like, we don't stay in those moments of like disappointment or even get like, maybe we might feel a little down, whatever, but we're not going to stay there. I mean, we're going to take those bad moments and make it an opportunity to learn from it and to grow from it and and then also like I know that like Karina is my biggest and she's my biggest influencer. Of course I got like my brother Daniel and my sister Des. Like, we got people that we learn from, but at the same time, like I'm always going to come to her first and foremost to see like what her outlook is on something or whatever it may be. Like, she's going to be my biggest influencer on any decision that I have to make. Besides God, I mean, we always bring it to God first and foremost, but I'm just saying, as far as seeking wisdom from you know, a physical person, I mean, it's always going to be, for me personally, it's going to be my wife because I trust her and she knows me more than anybody else. I mean, I sleep next to her every night and she does a lot for me. So, anything?
I think I would just add, like communication, because I was never a good communicator, and I'm still working on that. And really just serving your spouse, not making it about you, and just really being there for them and knowing how you can help that person out, and vice versa. Like, you know, he does the same thing for me. And I think when we take our eyes just completely off of like our emotions, our feelings, and we just serve them, our outlook on life, our outlook on our marriage, our outlook on our family, everything kind of just changes. So, and I don't have him read my mind. I used to all the time expect that he knew how I was feeling or whatnot, but just really being vulnerable and expressing, this is how this made me feel. Like, I don't know your motive behind it. You know, can you explain to me? Like, this is how I am taking this. And usually I'm wrong 100% of the time, or 99% of the time. He's don't even mean it how I'm taking it. So I think just really communicating before you take that offense and saying, hey, this is kind of how this made me feel. Like, can you explain that a little bit better to me? And then usually he's like, oh no, I meant it like this, or this is how I said it. And then boom, it's a done deal. Like, I don't have to take that on. But just really learning that he is for me. He's fighting for me. We're not against each other. And this could sound so cliche, you know, of like, oh, he's for me and all that, but really knowing, you know, like, he is for me. He loves me, like, just like how Abba like loves us, right? Like, I don't know.
That we have our best interest
Yeah.
in heart.
And
Yeah.
and just really trusting that. But I think just being really vulnerable with our heart, our feelings, it's huge too.
So what would you say though if a spouse is going, well, my wife or my husband doesn't have my best interest at this time? How do you walk about that, being the person that's gonna have to lead?
I'm really going to our Father and just asking him to show you how to lead in that, how to really serve your husband. Like, how, I think my goal would be like, I need to become like the Father, so my husband is able to see me differently. I think me, especially taking the lead in like in your marriage spiritually, I think it's very important for us to somehow still submit under that authority. Even how hard it might be, but you still have to respect your husband. Like, you have to respect him, even if you disagree. That's where you take it to the Father and pray about it, and just leave it alone. Because even if they're saved or not saved, or they're leading or not leading, I think men still carry that, like, man, if your wife is just submissive and you're loving them at their weakest moments or darkest moments, I just think that, I mean, that's, God just really shows up for you.
Yeah, I really think that men, if you can encourage a man, encourage a husband, encourage your husband, like, we really do step up when we're being spoken life into, and we feel like somebody has belief in us. Like, I'll feel invincible. Like, there's no one that can make me feel as invincible as Des. If she believes in me, then I feel like I can do anything, and vice versa. As far as like communication, like, that's not always easy for men. But what if somebody was like, here's $10 million if you guys figure and you learn how to communicate with your wife and this thing. As a man, we're gonna figure a way to communicate what I gotta say, or to be able to hear what my wife has to say, to understand her, because we're problem solvers. How much more important is our marriage and our children and the generations that we're leaving if we could take that mindset of, no matter what, I'm going to solve this at hand, not solve them, not fix them, but solve the task at hand, to be able to understand what they're saying and help them understand what you're saying, and having patience with that. And that's the season that I'm in and we're in right now, is I'm still learning how to communicate in a way that she will receive what I'm saying, like the words that are coming out of my mouth. So this is definitely something that I feel like sometimes people can learn from people that are in the process of growing in that, because communication is key. It's almost It's so much in a
Mhm.
marriage.
Mhm.
I mean, what relationship is there if you don't have communication?
Mhm.
Like that is your lifeline to knowing each other. But
Yeah.
that reminded me, I had a scripture, but then I bumped a button.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
see. Sorry.
Yep.
So it says, every wise woman builds her house, but a foolish one tears it down with her own hands. Whoever lives with integrity fears the Lord, but the one who is devious in his ways despises him. That just kind of like reminds me of like going back to what Karina was saying about, still respecting your husband. Like there's wisdom in just submitting and not being foolish. And like how you're saying, just the encouragement of a wife can, cause a husband to want to rise up to the occasion and like do his God-given purpose. But yeah, I mean, we don't want to tear things down with our own hands. Like that's wisdom to live in integrity before the Lord. So it's like, what is Abba really calling us to? No matter how, I mean, I feel like that all the time, but like what is right and what's wrong, and like find out what's right and do that, even if it really hurts. It like hurts the flesh to like do it.
Yeah.
And what about, so we have women that really speak in life, encouraging their husband, just kind of putting stuff back on their plate and having faith that the Father is going to take care of him and change his heart and that he will lead the right way. What about, what's one thing that men can do to be able to love their wives better, or to actually build that trust for the woman to be able to believe in him? What would you guys say is one practical thing that guys can do?
So to make the woman believe in the husband.
Yeah. So if the woman is gonna encourage and try to submit, make efforts to submit under him, and maybe we could do a video on what submission looks like, and it's not an act of somebody being weaker or less than. But what can how can men build a woman's trust where they believe? Because like I will say, like looking at you guys, like Karina trusts you, like she believes your heart is for her family, is for your children, is for her. So it makes it work. It makes it easier. Maybe not easy, but it makes it easier in your guys' marriage. So how can a husband build that trust?
I can't speak for me. I mean, I think it's just a matter of creating a safe place. You know what I mean? Within my home.
What does that look like, safe? Because I've heard that word too from Des. Like, I need to feel safe.
I think a safe place is like her knowing that I'm there to really understand like who she is and who she's becoming, because we're not the same people we were when we got married. I mean, I can say that straight up. I mean, we were crazy back then. Not crazy, but I mean, we both had a lot of baggage coming into our marriage that we never dealt with. And with that being said, I mean, I had so much unhealthiness she did. And in the midst of being married, we're trying to like work this out. But at the same time, we don't even have any like common goal that we're trying to strive for. We're just pretty much looking out for our own interests. So, I mean, a safe place, I think, would be, as far as me, like her knowing that my heart is submitted to God and knowing that I'm really trying to honor him with everything that I have. Not saying that I have it all figured out, and not saying that I even know what I'm doing sometimes, but the fact that she knows that I'm trying to live my life from a humble posture of being open to like learning and growing and being amongst other like believers, brothers and sisters, and just wanting to like learn more. And learning more for me is a matter of, as I'm learning, as I'm growing, I'm also actually putting these things that I'm learning into practice. And she sees that. It's evident in my life. It's not like I'm just telling her something. I'm actually doing it. And she can see, like, by me living that way, it makes her feel more safe, because she knows that me being a person of trying to be vulnerable, me being a person of trying to understand her, me being a person of looking out for her best interest and not just my own best interest, and trying to live a life of, I guess, just not selfishness, I guess. I think she knows like she can be safe with me and really sharing her heart with me. And I'm not just going to be like, it's my way or the highway. Like, I'm
Mhm.
really going to listen to her. And even if in the moment I don't really like get her and I don't really agree with her on something, I'm not just going to discount her and say, like, I don't agree with that. I'm really going to take it to the Father in my own prayer time. And even if it's talking amongst other believers and asking questions, like, what do you guys think? Like, kind of like what we're doing right now. Like, none of us got to figure it out, but we're all trying to figure it out, you know, how to really do life in a healthy way. But I just think that safe place. I think if I could say anything to me, like one word that would describe safe place, and I always say it is, it's really just being vulnerable. It's trusting your spouse with your heart, trusting your spouse with all your emotions, your feelings, just everything, and it's really nurturing that person's heart and giving them what they need back in return. Because in the reality of it, like if we're not receiving what we need from our spouse, we're gonna get it somewhere else. And I'm not saying like you're going to get it from another human being, but you might get it from overindulging and drinking or being around the wrong people, maybe even working, sports, just trying to receive some kind of affirmation from something, you know?
Some other distractions
Yeah.
that distract from how you're really feeling.
Yeah.
I think that's good. So safe is acting on leading or acting on putting the Father first and showing them that you are putting the family first.
Yeah,
I think
that's huge.
that's also communicating that though.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know doing it is so much more important, but at the same time they have to know what is in your head and communicate what's going on in your mind. I know for me, I'll be like, I'm just a doer. Like tell me what to do and I'll do it. And then Des needs to hear what my intentions are,
Why you want to do it.
why I want to do it. She needs to hear, I love you. I don't need to hear I love you from her, like really ever. Like I just show me you love me, right? And Des is more like I need to hear it. So I think like and that's now, right? We got to constantly learn each other and grow and together and have that patience and constantly going back to communication because another thing I think it was you Sam saying last night that was good was that might have been I don't remember who said it but it was that we're constantly growing in the Lord so we're never completely figuring out who we are so we're never going to completely know each other so as we're growing we're learning who we are so then we're sharing that with our spouse and we shouldn't get offended I'm talking to myself right now that you don't know your spouse or your spouse is changing because we should be changing
Yeah.
right yeah so I think that's good
Yeah, that was good.
And also enjoy, laugh. I know this video is like super serious, but like they're always laughing. We love to laugh. Like don't take things so serious, and you got to even if when you fail, sometimes you got to get together and as you repent to each other and ask for forgiveness, you got to laugh about it. Like we really just argued over where the socks were, or the keys were. Like okay, we know we need a lot of maturity. We need a lot of growing to do because, yeah, that's sometimes I'm like, man, I'm really that immature. Like this is not okay. I'm not a young man. So, yeah.
And there's a lot of hidden feelings that could be like under like a fight over the keys or something. So those need to be expressed.
Yeah. So I'd encourage the men that are watching this just man, learn to communicate and then relearn it and just grow in that and share your heart with your wife because no matter how you're living or what you've done, she needs to hear it and then you need to act on that and not be perfect on that and I think it's important. One of the things I just learned at a men's retreat is like people need to know your failures. Like your children need to know that you failed when you fail, they need to see you repent and walk this life out of repentance. None of us are perfect. And as we're able to walk that life of asking forgiveness to our children, to our spouse, how much more real is the Father to us, like knowing like we are forgiven. And so I don't know if that exactly made sense, but.
1 Peter 3:7. Well, I guess I'll go up to 6 because it said, just as Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him Lord, you have become her daughters by doing what is good and not fearing intimidation. So we need to constantly find out what is good and do that. It says, in the same way, husbands, live with your wives in an understanding way. Though they are weaker partners, honor them as equal heirs of the grace of life. In this way, your prayers will not be hindered. Finally, all of you be harmonious, sympathetic, brotherly, tender-hearted, humble-minded. Do not repay evil for evil or insult for insult, but give a blessing instead. It is for this reason you were called, so that you might inherit a blessing. For the one who loves life, wanting to see good days, must keep his tongue from evil and his lips from speaking deceit. He must turn away from evil and do good. He must seek shalom and pursue it. So, I mean, this is just saying, like, with our brothers and sisters, but how much more close is your husband or your wife as a brother or sister? Like, we're co-heirs to the kingdom. Like, we should be treating each other, you know,
with the most
in those
respect.
ways. Yeah. Being harmonious and sympathetic, brotherly, tenderhearted, humble-minded. You know, I think that just wraps it all up.
Yeah.
Seeking shalom, completeness.
Yeah, that's good. I think if we could live each day that with the thought that life isn't, tomorrow's not promised, and just really cherishing that day and enjoying the moment and staying off of our phones and our own minds and just being there. And well, I mean, what if today was the last day? And sometimes I do go back to that. And I'm like, man, would I be okay with myself if something were to happen to Des? And I'm not living in that fear, but it's the reality, like something could happen, and it'll be a reality check to me, like, is this really that big of a deal? And really nothing is that big of a deal when it comes to, like, this life is short. We better enjoy it with the one person who is gonna be the resource, right? So yeah. So I hope that encourages you guys, man. We don't come from neither of us did anything perfect or anything. We've been on this road together, struggling, working, reaping some benefits, reaping some consequences, but using those consequences to develop our character, develop ourselves. And we definitely believe that any two people can make it in marriage if you really humble yourself, seek the Father's ways, and be a servant, and put your partner in front of yourself, or just love them like you love yourself, because men, we love ourselves. Right? Well, we're
we
good
all
at
love
that.
ourselves.
Yeah.
I mean, even if we say we don't, I mean, I would say, like, I don't love myself, like, but I do, because I try to protect myself. I try to guard my heart. I try to defend myself.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
So be encouraged. We're out here doing it, one day at a time, growing.
It's a new day.
One pain at a time. The growing pains are real.
Yeah.
But it's good, and it's good to have people around that is like-minded, doing the life. They say you should have a third of the people you're around that are in a place that you want to be, a third of the people around that are doing life together with you, and a third of people around that you're giving back to. And this is definitely, I get the both, right? We're doing life with them, but they're also people in certain areas of life that we'll go to, that they're in their pairs, and then they're also could be glean from the maturity in certain areas. So thank you guys. Love you guys. And yeah, they've been a blessing to our marriage. Hopefully this video blesses you guys and reaches you guys and gives you guys hope, because hope is things that are unseen. Is when you have hope. So
you gotta have hope.
Yep. You might not see the light. You might not see that marriage that you know you can have, or you may have forgot that was put in your heart. But don't lose hope. Do not lose hope, because you can achieve it. You just got to deny yourself over and over again. And there's no one God, there's no one the Father's going to use more than your spouse to sanctify you, to turn you into the person that He created you to be. So if you're constantly offended, you're constantly hurt, it's because there's something there that He's working on with you.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And we all could learn to love better.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
So
Amen to that.
let's love well, you guys. All right. We're out.
Bye.